Why don't we begin our workshop then? It's good to be back in the saddle. We did the spell review, which was it was fun. I like the new conjurations and such, and so I'll probably end up rolling that one episode into this week's content here. But we have a new Unearthed Arcana that we're going to be looking through, and we're going to make some characters around it here. And this is the Psionic Options Revisited. And I do want to go over this with you all as the foundation before we start our character generation. Remember, like all Unearthed Arcana, this is playtest material. This is not... It is made by wizards, but it's not official content. This is something that if you want to run it, it shouldn't be like grossly, inappropriate for D&D, but you will want to run it past your dungeon master to make sure that the content would be allowed. And hang on one moment, I'm going to have to plug in my headphones so it'll make a computer connectory noise. Okay. The Soul Knife isn't in a 5th edition book, Zareki. If that's the correct pronunciation. There was a Soul Knife Unearthed Arcana previous, and after getting feedback from those initial psionic subclass playtests, this is a second... Well, I guess we'll stick with the Soul Knife. It's a second stab at it. So it's going to revise a few designs here. And we're going to go over the Psi-Knight tonight. The Psi-Knight Fighter. The Soul Knife Rogue. And the Psionic Soul Sorcerer, which was previously called the Aberrant Mind. And I like the Aberrant Mind Sorcerer when it was the Aberrant Mind. And do we like it in its new state? I guess we'll find out in a couple nights, right? There were soul knives in previous editions, and what this playtest is hoping to do, Zareki, is to get feedback on sort of ability mixes, power levels of things, playability, to find out if there's a niche for this content, so that it can be officially published in the future without hopefully succumbing to some kind of power creep or, just keeping, Wizards is going to make whatever they're going to make, and they're going to keep making it more powerful, and then everything's going to turn into just a big splat book explosion all over the place, and it's like, all right, so if you're not playing with 10 different books, and you're really playing D&D, etc., etc. Both, Death Angel. We're going to be specifically discussing the Psi-Knight tonight. And then we can get to things like the spells and the feats. Now, what is psionic power? I would urge you all to read this, because psionics have existed in 5th edition. But for the exercise that we're doing to just create a character, it doesn't matter. The Psi-Knight can be absolutely busted. I still want to create a character with the theme of the Psi-Knight. To get our imaginations going, especially because we haven't run a good character creator workshop in some time. And I want to rev up this engine, dust off the cobwebs, and dive into it. So I will urge you all to read up on the history of psionics, how it's manifested in 5th edition, and especially this block. Psi, or psionics, is not necessarily a form of magic. It is neither not magic nor is it magic, but it can do magical things. And the only real time that this could come up and be an issue would be for something like an anti-magic field or some other similar of an interaction with magic detection or interference or the like. Philly, you mentioned Splatbook Explosion. I think of Fantasy Flight Games Star Wars RPG and your 37 books. Yes, Wizards has been very careful with 5th edition to not just pump out a new book every month, month and a half, like what's happened before. And then, of course, power. We have power creep and all sorts of things happening. A rush to a 0.5 edition that kind of like checks everything against the new power scale, like what we saw in 3rd and 4th edition. It's I'm happy with the measured pace they're taking, especially because they are keeping to the kind of like, we want this to be like AD&D. We want 5th edition to stick around for 15, 20 years before we consider, before we're really considering a 6th edition. They want this to be evergreen. They want this to be modular. And so they built a very fun base that you could plug units into if you wish. Pardon me. I know it's weird. We're in 2020. You got to say this. I'm not sick. I had some spicy salsa off camera before coming live, and a little bit of it is still lingering. Well, casting spells itself isn't necessarily power creep. I'm sure we'll see something along those lines, Bullet Club. A collection like a Volos or a Mordenkainen's. But, I mean, because we have our 3 books of monsters, let alone any of the specific stuff that comes up in a module. I don't know if one is soon to come down the line. I'll tell you what, though, Bullet Club, when Theros comes out, I'm sure there's going to be some original monsters in there, just like what we saw in the Ravnica setting book. Awaz, hello! I'm glad that you are still not dead, and I will join you in that statement by saying I, too, am not. In fact, I'm getting ready to enjoy some cherry limeade. So, read this, catch up in what is the initial consideration, and now let's see if the application of that will hold true. We're going to be making a fighter, a third, starting at 3rd level, you can go into being a Psi-Knight. Awake to the psionic power within, a Psi-Knight is a fighter who augments their physical might with psi-infused weapon strikes, telekinetic lashes, and barriers of mental force. Many Githyanki train to become such knights, as do some of the most disciplined High Elves. In the world of Athos, renowned gladiators in the arenas of the Sorcerer Kings are often Psi-Knights, and in Eberron, the psionic Kalishtar view membership in this knighthood as a special honor. As a Psi-Knight, you might have honed your psionic abilities through solo discipline, unlocked it under the tutelage of a master, or refined it at an academy dedicated to wielding the mind's power as both a weapon and a shield. Before we get into the minutia here, this is the primer. This is something to think about. I want to take this and springboard right directly into the character creation now. We'll worry about the fun abilities and the numbers and all that later. Let's find out who our character is first. Well, I'm sure that we're going to see something like a Xanathar's Guide to Everything too, or some other expanded. If we've already seen Mordenkainen and we've seen a Xanathar, I don't know. Maybe they'll have like a Fizben, or they'll go to another notable magic user in the various realms of D&D. Wasn't a Psi-Knight a mountain in the Old Testament? That sounds familiar, Awaz. Yeah, Elminster, possibly. Tensor. Bigby was brought up in Mordenkainen's because Bigby was an assistant to Mordenkainen. Of course, we have Volo that's already been mentioned. So I'm sure they'll find someone to tap into. Or maybe it'll be like some, you know, a collection of various sages. It'll be sage advice. All right, so we're going to put this away. And as you can see, we have our character creator. It is ready to go. And let me get a look at who has reserved what role here. What I'm going to do for this first character, we are going to go back to the core, back to basics. Let's bring this playtest content and put it to what the bounded accuracy of the player's handbook, okay? So we're going to be drawing on the player's handbook for this first character. As well, we are going to go for the player's handbook for the backgrounds as well. Okay. So, while the source book itself may be a vanilla reference, remember, all our characters are still unique. They are our characters that we're going to bring to life. So, our first role is going to determine, do we have a female character, a male character, or are we going to hit multi-class and roll again? I don't have anyone who locked that one in, so what I would like to do, Zareki, as you are new here, would you like to get us going? Would you please type exclamation point 1D100 into chat? Stops on a 78. So we have a male character. Gracie Ironic wanted to roll for race. And so what we'll do then is... Gracie, roll a D10, since we don't have our custom Math Rocks bot right now. Just go ahead and roll a D10. Lands on a 9, and so we are making a Tiefling. Alright, we're making a Tiefling. Male Tiefling. Now, if it's important, something else that that I throw out there. If you have a race that, you know, half elf, half orc, even a Tiefling, do they favor one heritage or the other in terms of how they look through their physical genetics, in terms of their language and personality, in terms of just whatever, they like that particular art? It has no mechanical benefit or detriment. This would simply be a consideration for us as we're making our character that, if we're, 6 to one, half to the other, we can make a better decision based on that. And so, Gracie, will you please roll another D10? Odds, we favor our human side. Evens, we are going to favor our more infernal. I guess it's odds infernal, evens human. Odds. Okay, so we are favoring our infernal heritage more in some way. Medium-sized creature. We are making a level 20 character. If we want to playtest this, take a look at this, then we're gonna take it to its natural course, so we can consider everything that's here. We are, of course, making a fighter Cyanite. In fact, I should probably put, like, revised Cyanite, just to be safe. All right, now for the alignment roll. Can I have Awaz? Can you roll a percentile in chat? Exclamation point 1D100, and let's find out where on our balanced odds our character is. Stops on a 36. We are lawful neutral. All right. We already have our level. Now, are we going to take our ability score improvements, or are we going to replace them with feats? Death Angel's Shadow, will you also roll a D100 in chat and let us know if we're going to be taking any feats? Well, not just a dude. Someone who is more organized, someone who's methodical. Hey! Stops on an 89. We are taking 3 feats in place of ability score improvements. And you know what? This would give us a chance to look at these psionic feats that are in the Unearthed Arcana. So let me make a note of this. Yeah, can we all give some hype and love to Coffee Cat Presents and crew? As we're getting in here, feel free to spam some lovely emotes from me if you subscribe to Coffee Cat. Let's give some Coffee Cat hype in here as well. How were things going in San Antonio? All right, next up, background was claimed with inspiration points by Raz. Raz, will you please roll 1d20 in chat? Awaz, I wish the rain would let up so I could mow the lawn. Stops on a 10. We have a Hermit. All right. Now, there is an additional roll in here as well. Coffee Cat, will you please type exclamation point 1d8 to let us know what kind of a Hermit we have? Derek is emotionally exhausted. Is that good? Derek, did you get that mythical bleed in tonight's session of San Antonio by Night? And Derek, will you please type exclamation point 4d6 so that we can get our ideal bond and flaw from the first 3 numbers of that? Thank you, sir. I know you're coming down from a game, and I'm asking you to work here. I'm such a cruel taskmaster. Yes, and I had a moment of welcome to Urian Chessmaster. Oh, but Derek, I hope that bleed, man. You go to bed and you're like, yeah. Even though I'm like, ooh. Oh. Well, then Coffee, are you the cat that's got the cream then? If you've been able to bleed Derek in Vampire, that's that's like a high watermark, right? Philly Buckeye, will you please roll a D8 in chat? Exclamation point 1d8. This is going to give us our first personality trait. 7. Very well. Now for our second personality trait. Can I have Gracie Ironic roll a d8 in chat? Also a 7. So we can't have the same personality twice unless you roll it and you say, you know what, I'm gonna super lean into this, and maybe you do. But what we can do is we can put that 7 to that d8 for the Hermit type here, and Dark Wolf, I will throw one to you. However, Devil Lord is owed a roll. Devil Lord, can you also give me a d8 roll, please? Exclamation point 1d8. And we get a 4. Okay, excellent. We already have our class and our subclass, as we're a Psi Knight fighter. And what you can do, though, Miss Awu, is... There we go. We are going to get a fighting style. And so will you give me a 1d6 roll, Dark Wolf, to let us know which kind of a fighter we're going to be? Mathrock's bot is still on the fritz, so it's the old command of exclamation point 1d6. Lands on a 3. We are a dueling. Okay. And now we're going to go to Tiefling. And it's time to determine our age. Who is here that hasn't rolled yet? Raz, Devil. Whoops. I don't think that there's a mechanical difference, but you are correct, and I will go to that. Zareki, will you please type exclamation point 1D100? Oh, and Demon Quiller. All right, I'll give you the next one. Hey, Greenwald. And Greenwald is here, too. Rolled an 86. 86 is going to make us... we are an elderly tiefling. And this is a bit of a weird roll. 1d14 plus 68. I'm going to roll that one. We are 76 years old. So I wonder if we're getting ready to go on our final adventure. Come down here. We are elderly at 76. All right, so Greenwald. Greenwald, you can help us with a height modifier. So go ahead and roll 1d8. And Demon Quiller, you can help us with our weight modifier. Roll 1d4. Exclamation point 1d8 and exclamation point 1d4. Hi, Poison Ivy. If you can stick around for a second, I'll have you help us out. Demon Quiller is getting in a 4. And we have Greenwald. It's just exclamation point 1d8. Lands on a 5. All right, Gormir, can you please roll 1d4 in chat? And then Poison Ivy Pika, can you roll 1d8 in chat, please? So from the d8, that is landing on a 4, and from the d4, it lands on a 1. So that's 5, and this is 9. We are adding 9 inches to the base height of 4'9", and so our character is 4 foot 18 inches tall. Okay, now we're going to take that 9, multiply it by 5, so that's 45, and we're going to add it to his base weight of 110. 165. Whoops. 165 pounds. Ta-da! Well, I mean, maybe he has old man strength. Don't deny the old man strength. Why are you staring at me? Niece is staring into my soul. Uncle Iro. Oh, kind of like an Uncle Iro? Yeah, you got it, Mom. Well, so, Razia, because we had 18 inches, 18 minus 12 is 6. So we're 5'6". Yeah, thank you for stopping by and saying hi, Poison Ivy. I appreciate it. Oh, no. Well, Poison Ivy, you heard it from Darkwolf. She's not letting you go. All right, now what we've done is we've gone through the unlimited number of possibilities, and we've pulled out some random elements from the stuff of creation. We have a constellation. Pardon. Now we can fill in who the character is based off these random rolls, and we keep it random to challenge ourselves, to think outside the box, to get us out of our comfort zones. Because, I don't know, have any of you ever played an elderly character before? Everything else on this sheet could be the same. What's the difference if we had a 26-year-old tiefling or a 76-year-old tiefling? Let's play with the numbers that we have. And I love starting with the background. That is in Chapter 4 of your player's handbooks. We're going to go to H for Hermit. This is going to tell us about who our character is. What the character does, that's fine. A fighter's a fighter, whatever. We'll roll dice. Damage will happen. Jumping distances will happen. That's great. Who is our character? How does he make decisions? Is he scared of something? Has he achieved something? Let's find out. Let's get into our character's character. And beginning with the background, in my opinion, is the best way to go about it. What was your first job? What was your hobby? What do you still do before you, I don't know, became an adventurer? Or you were set off on some other path? As a hermit, we are proficient in medicine and religion. We have a tool proficiency of an herbalism kit. We get a language of our choice. Tieflings get common, infernal, and then we get one extra that I'll represent with some question marks. For our equipment, I'm not going to worry about the specifics of the weapon. At level 20, I don't know. We might have a +3 weapon. We might have a +1. We might have this or that. So I'm not going to worry so much about that. But we can still fill in some of the other details for the other things we get for being a hermit. Maybe it gives us ideas. So we have a scroll case with notes. A winter blanket. I mean, you could argue that this step is like, whatever. It's a level 20 character. Do you still have your moth-eaten winter blanket from when you're a level 1 nobody living in a cave? I don't know, maybe. We have a set of common clothes. We get an herbalism kit. And 5 guppas to our name. We are Hermit number 7. What does that mean? That means I was the caretaker of an ancient ruin or relic. It's a security blanket. Oh, yeah, Philly, I do too. Backgrounds do so much for characters. It's more than just a set of skills you get. Like, yeah, I guess I'll be a detective because it'll give me perception. I mean... So, tell me about you being a detective. That's really fascinating. What got you on the path? I don't know. I just wanted perception. Raz, will you please roll a D12 in chat? Odds, we were a caretaker for a ruin. Evens, we're a caretaker for a relic. Could be said that a hermit blanket is also his towel. Don't leave home without it. Yes. Always bring a towel, right? My group is a heavy min-max group, and I try and get them more into roleplay. So, have any of them used their background features? Have you encouraged them to try and tap into that? 1d12 didn't work for some reason. That's weird. And I don't know why this is just bugging out. Should have enough light. Raz, I guess just try a D20 then. Maybe I forgot to turn on the D12 command. Stops on a 12. And there we go. So I guess you rolled a D12. You just maxed out on it. Evens was, we are the caretaker of a relic. Okay. This is going to play into who our character is. Bear this in mind. My opinion on custom races or classes? D&D is meant to be tinkered with and to have custom stuff. It just comes down to, is it giving you the type of game you want to run? And I don't even care if it's a broken racer class. If everyone is having fun, and, if everyone's broken, no one's broken. Or if no one really cares that, you have a homebrew racer class that lets you, I don't know, attack 5 times around, 3 more times on a bonus action, and you can always jump a number of feet equal to twice your strength and dex scores combined. If no one cares, then have fun with it. It's your story. It's your character. And just because, to others like, well, that seems unreasonable. Well, this is a game of fantasy. So, be careful with it because, we do face the allure of, of saying, well, but I just because I can attack 8 times around, it's balanced out because my race has a -2 intelligence. Are we pretending to try and balance? Are we just saying this? Do you care about the balance, or do you just want to lean into it and have fun with it? Because you can lean into it and have fun with it. But no, the -2 intelligence, he can never have a 20 intelligence. Does your character ever use intelligence? No, but that's not the point. It's the knowledge of the loss of potential is soul crushing. Do you play it? Do you play into that as a character? Well, no, he's really an optimist and is very happy. I mean, I'll listen all night to your half demon, half angel, half devil, half whatever, ghost, necromancy, but it's good cleric necromancy. Even though you can cast evil spells, you're a good person, and your mom was a noble, but your dad was poor. But your dad was poor by working for your mom's family. So he always still had connections and wealth and was never looked down upon, but he was still poor. And your mom was a noble, but she always hated money, even though she spent it all the time. And then, of course, your parents died, and they passed all that stuff on to you. And so now you're a half devil, half demon, half ghost, half angel with unlimited amounts of money, but your parents taught you not to like money, but you always have money, and you'll always afford everything that you want. And you can jump, So, I mean, look, if you want to build it, have fun with it. Lean into it. Tell an awesome story. It's your story. I could say the same thing with what we're building here. Like, oh, yawn, we're doing a hermit out of the player's handbook? That's vanilla. Boring. And yet, let's make a compelling character. Let's care about who the character is, and not just have the character be an abacus, a calculator, a math, a living worded math problem. Right? Let's find out who our character is in that regard, and not just as a writer for a bunch of abilities. And that goes, and by the way, that goes with a tiefling. That goes with a human. So I'm not just calling out folks who tinker and homebrew. That is a living, beating heart of D&D is tinkering and homebrew. Uh-oh, your player's going to drink some murder hobo juice. Well, I hope you're ready for it, Rozzy. Remember, one of the best ways to curb that kind of behavior is simply consequences for actions. Yeah, Philly, my character's perfect in every way, and their only flaw is they care for people too much. It's like being the humblest person you know. Now, our background feature is discovery. My goodness, why is my background geeking out? Guess I have a little too much of a shine here. Sorry if that is distracting you all. Judgard. It could write the Hermit as someone who lived in the snowy mountains. Absolutely. We cared for a relic, and maybe the relic needed to be kept away from other people. Let's find out. The quiet seclusion of your extended hermitage gave you access to a unique and powerful discovery. This is one of the most powerful background features a character can have. It is direct influence into the game that you're going to be playing. This is a good background. But it requires roleplay and communication with the Dungeon Master. It might be the exact nature of this revelation depends on the nature of your seclusion. It might be a great truth about the cosmos, the deities, the powerful beings of the outer planes, or the forces of nature. It could be a sight that no one else has ever seen. You might have uncovered a fact that has been long forgotten, or unearthed some relic of the past that could rewrite history. Hermits, woohoo! it might be it might be information that would be damaging to the people who or consigned you to exile, and hence the reason for your return to society. Work with your DM to determine the details of your discovery and its impact on the campagne. Possibly. Hi, Starstyle. Totally new to D&D, and I understand nothing, but hearing all these things just makes me want to know more. Starstyle, you are hardwired by default of being a human being to be a storyteller. D&D is simply a methodology that can help channel our innate storytelling abilities. And as we go through this Starstyle, you're always welcome to ask questions. Don't let numbers or anything along those lines confuse you. Don't think that you have to memorize all the rules. You absolutely don't. In fact, numbers are going to be one of the last things that we put on this character. And if any of you are new here, maybe you're not used to this kind of a build. These ability scores here don't mean anything right now. Doesn't mean anything. Our character is our character regardless of what these numbers are, and I don't want numbers to distract us from who is this person. What does he do? How does he do it? How does he think? How will he act if you are piloting him at a table? And thank you very much, Judger and Saberwolf, for the follows. Another awoo. Yeah, so we have a wolf blade, a dark wolf, a custos lupus, an old wolf, and a saber wolf. Welcome to the pack. Juice boxes and lunches will be served. Hey, Technotron. So we know something. What is that something? What do we want it to be? Now, we're role-playing the fact that, you know, if we're making a character, we're presuming that a friend or family member said, hey, let's play D&D together. Sit down and make a character. Oh, yeah, you can play the Cyanite class. Oh, cool. Let's make one. That's kind of the background. We're role-playing right now, in a sense. So let's keep that in mind. We know something. We've discovered a mathematical formula. We've discovered a branch of science. We've discovered a way to organize something. Hey, Simba, it's good to see you. You found your family. Yes, indeed. And we have a coffee cat here, too. And yeah, Gracie, you're on it. Our discovery could very well be our psionics, or the relic that we carry awakened has awakened our psionic abilities, or is leading us in a particular direction. Coffee Cat says, San Antonio by night, that moment when you make your players bleed in all the right ways. That is what I live for as a storyteller. Yes. Double success, kid. I'm super happy to hear that, Coffee. You know, for many people, stepping up to be a storyteller in Vampire can be maybe more intimidating than being a dungeon master in D&D. And if you had a great session with a good emotional bleed to it, molto bene. You did well, my friend. The whole Cyanite Hermit knowing things makes me think of the guy guarding the secret of the... Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Philly. What if the relic heals you slowly, but he can get healing from any sources? Well, that would be something to bring up to the Dungeon Master if we're talking about healing or mechanics of, healing or mechanics of the character. Now, if you want, we have a 76-year-old tiefling. If you like that inspiration that he is that knight that was guarding the Grail in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, what if What if the tiefling is, he looks like he's 76. He looks like an old, wizened tiefling. Maybe it just slowed down his aging. What if our hermit has been holding on to this relic that has slowed down his aging or even stopped it at that age? And he's actually, I don't know, 500 years old. Again, talk with your DM, but these are cool ideas. Does it alter the functionality of the character? No. Does it make you broken? Not necessarily. Yeah, you might be technically 500 years old, but if you've been living in a cave all your life, it's not like you have deep political connections or a wealth of wealth. You've removed yourself until you're now reinserting yourself back in the world because, well, it might need you. Exactly. His psi powers might go into that. Hi, Neo Realms. Hello. Neo, I need to forward a link to you. If you haven't seen it, there's some generous stuff that Wizards is offering to teachers, librarians, Boy Scout troops, and whatnot. And if you haven't seen it yet, I'll have to get the link over to you because for those who are running, like who want to run D&D in libraries and schools and whatever, like Boy Scouts or other like organizations, church groups and whatever, they have some really good stuff, and so I will make sure that gets to you. I saw it today and I immediately thought of you. All right, now what's our personality? We have two major personality types, number 7 and number 4. Number 7 states, I often get lost in my own thoughts and contemplation, becoming oblivious to my surroundings. And number 4, I feel tremendous empathy for all who suffer. Now, does that mean that we step up into action to help suffering? Maybe. Maybe we just internalize it. We understand the pain. Maybe we want to fix it even if we can't help every single person along the way. With this lawful neutral alignment, don't let that control your personality. Your alignment is not your personality. Your alignment is the manifestation of what happens after your brain to mouth filter or your brain to hand filter. Nothing stops a chaotic evil character from donating 10 gold pieces to a church. Nothing compels a chaotic evil character to kick every puppy in the street and burn down every orphanage that he or she passes by because I'm lawful evil. Or chaotic evil. What this would manifest as, if we're talking chaotic evil, you are impulsive, which means you could make antisocial decisions, or you can make decisions against the grain. Impulsive doesn't have to be, ooh, shiny, oh, squirrel, ooh, blinking lights. Doesn't have to be that. You could be hyper intelligent and be impulsive because your brain can't stop thinking thoughts. And so you just say, spin the wheel, I'm grabbing this one. This is what we're doing. Evil can, of course, be kicking puppies and burning down orphanages. Absolutely. Evil could be murder. Evil could also just be that you're selfish and you will use other people. You will risk other people. Your goals, your lifestyle, your methodologies are more important than other people's to the point that you would sacrifice those things to serve your end. But it doesn't have to be kicking puppies. Lawful neutral, then, for this character, lawful, we tend to be more organized. We are methodical. Maybe you have, you could even have that be almost, if you want, a little compulsion. You always adjust your tie. You always have to have your hair the same way. It could simply be that you follow the scientific method. We're a hermit. We made a great discovery. Maybe we stick to a rigorous, whatever. We get up at 6 a.m. every day. And we go and we drink the same stream water. We go behind the same bush. We come back. We fix the same, squished berry lunch. We're regular. I mean, with a diet like that, we're probably regular in another way, too. You know, we're methodical. Neutral. Neutral. What is neutral? It doesn't mean, well, I can murder someone, but then I donate 10 gold to a church, and that makes me neutral. I did something bad, I did something good, and suddenly this is karma from Fallout 3, where you can destroy, you can nuke a city, but as long as you give enough bottles of distilled water to a drifter, you're fine. Everyone likes you. You know, you might have a DM that wants to work with you in that regard. But neutrality is, you're looking out for your own goals, but not necessarily at the sacrifice of someone else. You know, you are important. You're going to make yourself important. You're going to prove your importance. You're going to maybe go out there and earn your recognition. But it doesn't mean that you're willing to sacrifice other people to reach it. You might contract with them. You might actually just outright, instead of deceive or not explain, you might just explain it. I'm on an important mission. I need help. Will you help me? I have 5 gold pieces. You'll follow my rules. This is what I'm asking for. So you can be stern. Nothing says you can't. But it doesn't have to be all right, so I killed a person, I gotta do a good deed, but then I can do another evil deed after I do the good deed, because then I'll be evil again, but then I'll do something good again, and then I'll be neutral again. Even though I apparently always want to do evil stuff, and then the neutral is just, I guess, touching base for a second before looking for an excuse to do something evil. Judgar, we could have, we could have an antisocial personality. You know, if we're getting lost in our own thoughts to the point where we're becoming oblivious to what people are saying around us, or that we feel a tremendous empathy, we may not reach out from that, but it doesn't mean we don't understand that pain. Buying boxes from Maddie at midnight, that would be impulsive, Demon. Who would ever do such a thing? Exactly, Philly. There are some villains that will wake up in the morning and go to the mirror and go, "Oh, I'm evil. I'm a bad guy. I'm going to do bad guy stuff." Many do not. Many do not. Technotron, I haven't. I've still been in the routine talking about methodology of I wake up. I've been doing errands and going to the store, trying to get things positioned for the middle of May when I can finally reopen again. Come home, and because I've been sleeping poorly, take a nap, do stream prep, stream, go to bed, wake up, go to the store, and do errands. Come home, take a nap, do stream prep, stream, go to bed. I will hopefully have time for it. I have had very little I guess extra time or side time because of just everything going on. So I haven't forgotten about it, and I appreciate you sending it over to me, but I haven't been able to. And hi again, Simba. Yeah, that's a good example, Philly. And an interesting example from you, Simbas, about the person you knew with the Blue Jays. Yeah, it could be a thing of OCD. You know, you live that long, and you got to have some kind of routine, right? You got to have something to be comfortable to help get through all the time. So now we have some lines in the sand, and you know what? It's a vast desert, but we're drawing our lines. We get lost in our thoughts and contemplation, becoming oblivious to our surroundings, and we feel tremendous empathy for all who suffer. Honestly, Raz, I should probably prepare 2 boxes just to be safe. I'm getting a new shipment in, so maybe I'll just make 2 boxes anyway. Now, what is our ideal? What is something, what are we hoping for in the world? What's maybe a goal we want to move towards? Ours is number 5. Live and let live. Meddling in the affairs of others only causes trouble. Meddling in the affairs of others only causes trouble. So it might seem that how can you have an antisocial party member? Well, how do you want to structure the party? Again, we're talking to the DM about this. Maybe this is personal meddling. He doesn't want to meddle. Maybe he puts significance on everything that he does might disrupt something else if he is a methodical person. And so there's nothing saying he can't travel with other people or he can't speak or, take actions. But he doesn't want to meddle. He's not going to be eavesdropping. He's not going to be the sneak who wants to get the, he understands, look, nobles can be corrupt. Go to the dive at the piers. We're not talking nobles, and those people can be corrupt too. But he's not here to listen in on, who punched who or whatever. Someone had a little, pinch and tickle going on or whatever. He is his own person. What is his bond to the world? His bond is number 1. Nothing is more important than the other members of my hermitage, order, or association. So he may not have been completely antisocial. Some sort of a group or an order. If he's been protecting a relic, then maybe there's a group that it's a very limited membership, but maybe they travel with the relic, or that it's an order where you have like relic holders, and maybe they take turns holding on to and protecting the relics. And so members of this order might end up like traveling between the caves all around the kingdom or the continent or whatever to visit, bring supplies, or even just rotate. Maybe when the adventure starts, it's his turn to hold relic number 6. And he's only held relics, 3, 4, and 5. He hasn't even made it back around. That won't happen for another couple, for another 300 years as he's making the rounds. Have fun with it. Do you see? We're building a world. We're building a culture, maybe even a religion. And look at this. Off of all of this, does it matter what our strength score is? I don't care what his strength score is. His strength score could be a 12, even as a fighter. Does that matter one bit about who he is or this cool stuff that we're generating? Let alone for the Dungeon Master, that we're generating all this content for her or him to insert into the world to bring us in. And what's our flaw? Because we are all flawed creatures. Hi, Sky. Good to see you again. Our flaw is number 4. I let my need to win arguments overshadow friendships and harmony. When we speak, we speak. We yell. Maybe we do lash out with frustration that's built up over years and decades of meditation and solitude, of protection of this relic. I let my need to win arguments overshadow friendships and harmony. This could end up being the stress. We are an important person, and we understand that. We don't want to let that override others, because that's what leads us down a path of evil. And yet we have these outbursts, and maybe afterwards we feel deeply ashamed. But we couldn't help it. It is our flaw. It is a part of us. Yeah, Raz, it writes itself. Just as you're seeing up there. Capital M, IWI. This is an adage for all of you that are new here. The story writes itself. Have we had to really go out of our way and used a ton of our big brain energy in order to build a world, an order, a relic? We have so many prompts to build off of, and this is all we've done. We've been building this character for about an hour now. And this is what we have. We have a character. I guarantee it. We have a character right now. Yeah, there's not a strength score. I don't know. What's the Constitution? I don't know. What do you want it to be? 18? 8? Doesn't matter. It's not going to change one bit who this character is and the world in which he's lived and is living. And is going to go and do something to take part in. Exactly, Awaz. So congratulations, we have a character. Now I guess, I don't know, let's go and find out. Yeah, we're a tiefling. Alright, let's go to tiefling. What do we get as a tiefling? Let's find out. We get 60 feet of dark vision. We're a medium-sized creature. We get 30 feet of movement, 15 climb, 15 swim, 0 fly. We get hellish resistance, so we are resistant to fire. So I'm going to fill that in on the little radio button here for immunities, resistances, and vulnerabilities. And then we get Infernal Legacy. So I'm going to come down to the spell page here. IL, and we are getting Thaumaturgy. And then we are going to get Hellish Rebuke. Once per long rest. Off of Charisma. And Infernal Legacy. Darkness. Once per long rest. Off of Charisma. Ta-da. Well, heck, that was easy. Now, of course, we can explore his infernal heritage. You know, when I'm going this, I'm waving my hand at the stats. A tiefling's a tiefling. You know, at least in the player's handbook. You know, are there flying tieflings? Yeah, have fun. Be one of the frosty tieflings. Be a flying tiefling. You know, build into that. But I don't want to start with being a tiefling. You know, we're humans. I'm presuming we're all humans here. If you aren't, well, I don't know. So, you being a human, me being a human? I've seen a human. Okay. I'm generally aware of what humans can do. Who are you? What do you do? How do you make decisions? What do you do for a job? What color is your favorite color if you can see color? That is what defines you. And that's why I start with the background and not the race. Yeah, and so you can get into you know, is this progeny? Is this direct progeny? Almost like a Cambion, like a half devil between a human and a devil, or are we kind of a watered down version? Or if you're a tiefling in the Tuesday campaign, I was about to say too much. So you can explore this. Obviously, this person was born or created somehow, and you can build a family, or not. You can discuss a lineage. And so, you know, do so there, and not just have your race be, oh, cool, I get dark vision. Woo! Dark vision. Yeah, do you have a fluffy tail or not? These are the important questions. Can I get your advice on something, asks Philly. In my group, we run into a problem because half want to min-max and half do not. The problem becomes that those who don't min-max kind of get screwed because the DM tries balancing combat for everyone, making it the non-min-max people are almost useless in combat and likely will die in 3 to 5 sessions. How do you fix that so you aren't forced to min-max to keep up? my first follow-up question is for the people who min-max, are they given a challenge? You know, if you build a character that is an apex fighter, no one can beat him on the battlefield. Suddenly they have to go to a noble's ball and act with etiquette, and or to solve a riddle, or to do a handful of other things that doesn't equate to stick them with the pointy end. It could be considered that way. Mix up the content. Not every now, unless you signed in and say, yeah, I mean, we're kicking down the door and it's a big old dungeon crawl. All right, well, hey, that stuff can still end up in there. But mixing up the type of content's one way to do it. Their problem is they want combat challenge as they view it as a battle simulator. In that case, then, Philly, if those people want a combat simulator game, then that needs to be a separate group of combat simulator game. And if other people want a mixed or a low combat game, then that group should have a mixed or low combat game. And so it's, it comes down to what game are we playing? Because we're playing two different games at the same table. And you can have that conversation with the DM. You say, look, I'm role-playing, I'm enjoying things, but the way that, these 2, 3, whatever people want to play, I'm not interested in that type of a game. I like you as a dungeon master. I like the content. I'd love to see where it goes. But if this is simply Monster of the Week every week, I don't want a dungeon crawl. At least not as much. I don't care what my DPR is. I'm not here to kill monsters. I'm here to, take part in a world. Have some intrigue. I might solve a mystery. Or rewrite history. DuckTales. Woohoo. So yeah, I mean, the group might just have to split and do the things that they want to do. And I do want to say that for people who min-max, I think by default there's kind of a bad reputation because they might be that guys. I'm going to find an infinite combo to... Alright, well, yay. You found an infinite combo. You win D&D? What is that? Okay? Congrats! You did it. You wrote some numbers on a piece of paper and you shook a piece of plastic. Yay! But you know what? If that makes you happy, just like I was talking about before, you could have the Super Mary Sue race in class. If everyone at the table's having fun, nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with a good old-fashioned dungeon crawl where your DM says, y'all got to make characters that are going to survive because this is going to kick your butts. I am making something deliberately to try and murder you in combat, and there's going to be a lot of combat. That's the communication aspect of this communication-based game. Of communication and communicating. Communication. Just like you could take a look at people, combat's very aggressive and I feel, my heart races if we get into combat and someone might get hurt, and that's something that, I get sick, I throw up in my mouth if I even think about someone, getting hit with a dagger. And, you might have people, what are those? Okay, that's, sure. If that's how you want to play D&D, sure, all right, well, no daggers, can't throw up in your mouth. This is D&D. Well, of course it's D&D. D&D is a lot of things to a lot of people. So, the pendulum swings both ways. I have not Devil. Primarily because, like I was talking with Technotron, I have approximately 0 time to do stuff like that. As much as I want to, and as weird as it sounds for someone who's in the pop culture industry, to not have a lot of time to delve into pop culture, it's the nature of the beast. One of my friends is that guy. He did a coffee lock with a broken old Warforged. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I guess you bring that to the table, and I don't know. You look to your friend, and you're like, okay, I get it. Priming your character dispensed. Yay, you did it at the table. Everyone watched. Do you feel happy? It's like a kind of a form of exhibitionism. I have a game where everyone is so OP, I'm sending 6 Displacer Beasts and 6 Intellect Devourers that have been manipulated by Lithids just to give them a challenge. Yeah, and you know what, Philly? If your DM can't have a civil, tactful conversation about this, and the fact that you're not having fun, which you're allowed to not have fun, maybe that DM's not right for you. And you do need a break. Because no game is better than bad game. Why waste your time every week with a bunch of people you can't get along with? You know, even if you, especially if you've tried. I've been open-minded. I may not, you know, like this or that or whatever. I've really tried. I just can't. And so you find a new game, because there will be a new game out there. You might have to run the game, but you'll run a fun game that you want to present. Well, Simba, if everyone's having fun, including you, if you're not being frustrated by the party, because presumably you've allowed them to build the characters that they have, then have fun. Build these cool, like, hyper-challenging conundrums, you know, fights. So we're a Tiefling, y'all. Yay. Now we're going to build a fighter. We're going to build 20 levels of fighter, and we're not worrying about the subclass. This is just straight up fighter. Our proficiency bonus is 6. We are a D10 hit die class, and we're level 20, so we get 20 of them. To naturally recover hit points on a rest, so we don't need to use potions or magic spells. We are proficient with all armor and shields. And for weapons, simple and martial. No tool proficiencies, and our saving throws are going to be strength and constitution. We're going to add the subclass last, Simba. We're building a fighter first, a Psy-Knight on top of that. Then we're going to choose 2 skills from acrobatics, animal handling, athletics, history, insight, intimidation, perception, and survival. How do we do this? Well, you could say, well, does anyone have perception in the group? Nope, I guess I'm going to be the perception monkey. You can. I'm not using a silly voice to talk down. I want to differentiate here. I do want to try and tactfully, you know, use voices and, you know, sarcasm and positioning in this. And so you could say, yeah, I guess I'll be the... But if you're doing that, again, is your character a character, or is your character just simply a dump of stats? You know, a living math problem. Let's look at who our character is. Where are we going to get these 2 extra skills? I often get lost in my own thoughts and contemplation, becoming oblivious to my surroundings. I feel tremendous empathy for all who suffer. Live and let live. Meddling in the affairs of others only causes trouble. Nothing is more important than the other members of my hermitage, order, or association. And I let my need to win arguments overshadow friendships and harmony. How do we want to lean into this? We have religion and medicine from our background. And, I mean, we can play into that. And you can always ask your DM, too, if you can modify that. Why not, right? Could this outburst as a flaw turn into intimidation? Our character does break. Our character does, you know, reach those points. History. If we're talking about we have a super old person, maybe we do know history. We've tried to avoid being a part of it, but maybe we do know history. You know, we read about what other people do. We don't meddle in it. That could work very well, too. You wouldn't like him when he's angry. Devil Lord, yeah, a pirate campaign can mix that very easily. And it is, for some people, it's good to have a more constrained, you know, we can sail almost anywhere, but we're still sort of in the safety blanket of the boat. We said he embraces the infernal, yeah. So maybe something happens. Maybe that's when he uses his thaumaturgy. You know, his voice gets louder, or the fires around him change color when he gets upset. Because it's his thaumaturgy, like, bleeding out, right? So intimidation can work. The other members of my Hermitage Order Association, I get lost in my own thoughts, and I feel tremendous empathy. So what about insight? Insight and intimidation for him. He feels empathy. And he is so thoughtful, he gets lost in his own thoughts. By the way, I did forget that as a... I got so caught up in, like, I guess we're a tiefling here. The one thing I forgot is actually numbers that we haven't put in yet. Charisma increases by 2 and intelligence increases by 1. So we're going to float those here real quick. Okay. Bloop. Now we're going back to being a fighter. Maybe. Maybe. Well, he might be an overthinker. You know, he might contemplate this stuff very deeply. You know, his relic, his riddle, his sacred duty to protect something. All right, we have our fighting style. He is a dueling. When you're wielding a melee weapon in one hand and no other weapons, you gain a +2 bonus to damage rolls. So we can have a shield and we can go sword. Maybe he wields a sword in the relic. Maybe the relic somehow acts as a shield. I don't know. Talk to your DM. Be creative. Tie it into the character and don't ask your DM for goodies just for the sake of having bigger numbers. My opinion, if you want higher numbers, I wish you the girthiest dice. I hope that they are bulbous and roll around in a pleasurable manner for you. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of what you get as a fighter, because the relic could be a weapon, could be I don't know, it's whatever we want it to be. I'm not getting into the details. You can read about this in the player's handbook. But we are going to be getting our fighting style. We're going to get Second Wind. We're going to get Action Surge. We're going to worry about our martial archetype soon. Our ASIs we'll worry about in a little bit. We are going to get extra attack ×3 because we're 20th level. And we are also going to get Indomitable. And this is 3 per long rest. Devil, what PDF character sheet do you use? This is a special one I found, a while ago. I don't know if it's on, I think it was on EN World. You can find this on our Discord, Devil Lord. If you find other characters we've made in the workshop, in our area where we have all our saved content, you can download one of the previous characters and blank this for your own if you'd like. Simba's? I don't know. It could be for any campaign. In fact, I think we're going to find out the type of campaign because we're making a character for it right now. Art jokes. Hi, Balooz. So, hey, as a fighter, boop-a-doop-a-doo, at 9th level, you get your last feature. I mean, they ride up at other levels. So now, after all of this, after me being on a soapbox and possibly lecturing, let's take a look at what a Psi-Knight gets for the goodies, for the abilities. You harbor a wellspring of psionic power within yourself. an energy that ebbs and flows as you channel it in various ways. This power is represented by your psionic talent die, the starting size of which is a D6. Psionic talent options. You can use your psionic talent die in the following ways. You can create a protective field. When you or another creature you can see within 30 feet of you takes damage, you can use your reaction to roll your psionic talent die and reduce the damage taken by the number rolled plus your intelligence modifier, minimum reduction of 1, as you create a momentary shield of telekinetic force. You can have a psi-powered leap. When you make a high or long jump, you can roll your psionic talent die and extend the distance of the jump up to a number of feet equal to twice the number rolled, plus your intelligence modifier, minimum of 1 extra foot. This extra distance costs you only 1 foot of movement. Telekinetic strike. You can propel your attacks with telekinetic force. Once on each of your turns, immediately after you deal damage to a target within 30 feet of you with a weapon attack, you can roll your psionic talent die and also deal force damage to the target equal to the number rolled. Okay. Changing the die's size. If you roll the highest number on your psionic talent die, it decreases by 1 die size after the roll. This represents you burning through your psionic energy. For example, if the die is a D6 and you roll a 6, it becomes a D4. If it's a D4 and you roll a 4, it becomes unusable until you finish a long rest. Conversely, if you roll a 1 on your psionic talent die, it increases by 1 die size after the roll, up to its starting size. This represents you conserving psionic energy for later use. For example, if you roll a 1 on a D4, the die then becomes a D6. Whenever you finish a long rest, your psionic talent die resets to its starting size. When you reach certain levels in this class, the starting size of your psionic talent die increases. At 5th level, at 11th level, and at 17th level. As a bonus action, you can calm your mind for a moment and restore your psionic talent die to its starting size. You then can't use psi replenishment again until you finish a long rest. So our archetype is going to be giving us psionic talent, and our psionic die is a D12. This is going to give us protective field, psi-powered leap, telekinetic strike. Now, my hot take on this. This does give you a lot of extra things as a fighter. You know, you can choose defense, offense, or movement. Bread and butter stuff. You can face a penalty if you burn out. Of course, what are the odds? And you can calculate the odds of that. This would be sort of a floating extra amount of damage or an extra amount of DR. It is versatile. My concern is having to juggle the amount of dice as you might dice up or dice down. Keeping track of that. And this is presuming everyone's honest about it. I mean, let's give everyone the benefit of the doubt. There will always be that guys that will cheat and be like, I rolled a 12 on the 12 and I accidentally thought that I went up to 2d20. Isn't that how we're doing this? Like, don't I have advantage because I'm a psionic class? I mean, those are limited examples, and that's to the extreme as well. Basically, this is something that is a complication. And as a dungeon master or as a player, you would want to be ready for that to make sure you're able to track it and use it without slowing down the game or having to stop people in combat or something along those lines and figure out all this extra math. I get the concept. I would be worried that this would turn into a complication that might slow the game down for everyone, including the player. And as well, you know, if I'm a DM and I have an NPC or I don't know, I want to play around with this myself, do I have to track this for every monster character or NPC? I mean, you could always make a pool and they all go up or down together, I suppose. But that's my initial worry with this. I like the fluff to it. I think it's cool about the inner reserve and how you can grow it and use it and build it. You know, there is a risk and reward. I would just be concerned and want to talk about the complication it will bring to the table. Have a good night, Awaz. Thank you for hanging out with us and your humor tonight. Well, if it was a superiority die, then we have a fighter subclass stepping on a fighter subclass. And I mean, you could bring up the superiority die where you have a die that does float. That is in the core player's handbook, you know, for bounded accuracy. So is that interfering with the battle master, or is it the same concern that a battle master, similar to, I don't know, a wizard who has 11 billion spells in their book? Watch out for the complication. All right, we are also a telekinetic adept. You have mastered new ways to use your telekinesis. When you deal damage to a target with telekinetic strike of your psionic talent, you can force the target to make a strength saving throw against a DC equal to 8 plus proficiency plus intelligence. Unless the save succeeds, you can knock the target prone or move it up to 10 feet in any direction horizontally. And telekinetic movement. If your psionic talent die is available, you can move an object or a creature with your mind. As an action, you target one loose object that is large or smaller, or one willing creature other than yourself. If you can see the target and it is within 30 feet of you, and you can move it up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. Alternatively, if it is a tiny object, you can move it to or from your hand. Either way, you can move the target horizontally, vertically, or both. When you take this action, your psionic talent die decreases by 1 die size. I have a couple issues with this. I think it's cool, right? You're a Jedi, right? You're using Jedi movement and defense and all this other stuff, right? Object or creature, cool. As an action, you target one loose object that is larger or smaller. So the object is larger or smaller. Or one creature. At 7th level, can I target the Tarask? Can I target an ancient red worm? And I just get to do this? Effectively. If I can see it, and it's within 30 feet, I can just move it 30 feet. In this case, I can lift someone 30 feet in the air and let them fall. Or I can send people over cliff sides. I could send people off of a bridge. Or hang on, did I miss something? So the loose object, so it can't be held or carried. That's what I'm presuming. Smaller, or one. I'm sorry, it is one willing creature. It is one willing creature. Still, you could tell your friend, hey, you want to go get that thing for you? You get the halfling, like, hey, can you help me reach this? Splat him into the ceiling. You probably shouldn't do that, but so I guess it's utility, kinda. It could certainly be damaging. I mean, if you move, let's say a large object could be, I don't know, it could be a boulder just kind of sitting out there in the open. If it's, at the max constraints of large, dropping a boulder 30 feet is not going to be a couple d6 of fall damage. So you could bring the environment to life around you, and maybe that's as your action, instead of swinging your sword or your axe or whatever a couple times, maybe you do just want to drop boulders. And you could do it repeatedly. You just mash people under a large-sized boulder. Off the cuff, right? In an impromptu, my mind is trying to, we're talking about min-maxing. You do need to min-max. You have to stress test this playtest content. How can this be abused? How can you end up just myrtleizing someone? How can you break this talent or this feature? You take this action, so it decreases, and you can end up like poofing your die size. So yeah. You build it up, I don't know, at 20th level, or actually I think it was 17th, it's a D12, so you can bash. Now you're a D10. Now you're a D8. Now you're a D6. Now you're a D4. And then you use Psi Replenishment as a bonus action to bring it back up to a D12. D10. D8. D6. D4. Yeah, float the keys to your hand. Yeah, there's cool stuff here. Especially because you can replenish once per long rest. At higher levels. I know we're making a level 20 character. If we want to test things, we want to break it. It's something to consider. I guess that'd be also up to the DM, because you'd have to think about everything that could be a like, is a squirrel? Can a squirrel be willing to be telekinetically lifted? At the same time, it's a tiny creature. And so could the consent of the squirrel be just as powerful as a greater, like, vastly more intelligent being like an aboleth who can understand, yes or no? I don't know. It's cool. I get it. It's off the cuff. First blush. It's a little gray. No, when you use telekinetic movement, it automatically scales down. There's no die roll. You blow one of your die sizes and you get to use the ability. Psi enhanced metabolism. The psionic energy flowing through you has bolstered your mind and body. You have resistance to poison and psychic damage, and you are immune to the poisoned condition. So we have poison we resist, psychic we resist, and we are immune to the poisoned condition. Bulwark of Force. You can shield yourself and others with telekinetic force. As a bonus action, you can choose creatures, which can include you, that you can see within 30 feet of you, up to a number of creatures equal to your intelligence modifier minimum 1. Each of the chosen creatures is protected by half cover for 1 minute or until you're incapacitated. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, unless you decrease your psionic talent die by 1 size to use this feature again. So as a bonus action, for 1 minute, everyone up to your int mod, so capped at 5 unless shenanigans are happening, have half cover. And you can also still use protective field. Does this feel paladin-y to you? Well, it's the poisoned condition immunity, Simbas. Poison damage is still only halved. We are resistant to poison damage. There is a poisoned condition to which we are immune. Yeah, so the Cyanite is, do you feel then that as a fighter subclass, is this stepping on some toes? Is this being redundant to things that already exist? These are things to look out for. These are things to wonder about. Well, Death Angel, there is some content further on. I didn't look at the spells. Maybe there is something like that later on. Half cover. Let me refresh myself here. Yep, +2 to AC and dexterity saving throws. Now this is just to AC. It doesn't specify. This does not specify. It has to be ranged. Half cover, yeah, half cover increases armor class by 2, and dexterity saving throws. Yeah, and 3/4 is a +5. Yep. So this is neat. It's kind of paladin-y, you know, with the auras. Is it inappropriate for a fighter to be able to do this? I don't know. As the fighter, unless I'm missing something, as an Eldritch Knight or others, as the fighter, it's more about you as this sort of monolithic character. You know, you are the big fighter. You are the tactician. You are the this or that. So to be able to offer all, you know, I guess it's making a support class style fighter is kind of what that's getting to. You know, you still might deal more damage than normal if you're using your psionic die and you're recycling it. In a combat heavy game, you know, maybe this is a little weaker. It's fun to have options. You can always roll your die into extra damage. If you don't have combat that often. I mean, you could just blow a lot of your power in the one combat you do have, and you would stand out as this fighter. And Telekinetic Master, your ability to move creatures and objects with your mind is matched by few. If your Psionic Talent die is available, you can cast the Telekinesis spell, requiring no components. Your spellcasting ability for this spell is Intelligence. When you cast the spell, your Psionic Talent die decreases by 1 size. Not worried about this. 18th level, your Epic level already. You can cast Telekinesis at will. By now, people probably already know that this is kind of your shtick and might come, prepared for that. It does diminish the resource of your die. So, I don't know. This isn't terribly offensive to me. Having a limited cast spell still takes an action, and it reduces your die size. This I actually don't really have a problem with. So, yeah, it's, I get it. I think it'd be fun. If you're the type of person where you can juggle this, you can juggle the die, and you won't be cheaty with it. If you can manage this, you have a fighter that has abilities like a wizard has spells in a spell book. You have a ton of options. You gotta keep track of them, though. You have to measure the size of your die. You gotta be honest with it. And you can't slow down the game because this die is empowering most everything that you do. So you're going to be rolling it a lot, and you can use it a lot. Make sure you know your abilities. Make sure you know the size of your die, and to move forward there. So overall, is this a fighter? It doesn't feel very fightery. But then again, maybe Psionics is supposed to have that kind of foreign feeling to it. It's supposed to have that, I'm looking at something, but I'm not getting it. It's different. It's Psionics. Yeah, it's cool. It's complicated especially for a fighter. This is not your average, hey, welcome to D&D. Make a human fighter as your first character kind of a thing. There is more to juggle. There is more to manage. Yeah, I don't see anything that is obviously broken with this. There's some things that are maybe a little weirdly worded, or kind of in concept you get, but the methodology's a little awkward. Like, can a squirrel consent to you using, as a level 20th, telekinetic master, to use telekinetic movement to zap a squirrel to your hand? Technically, it's a creature. Technically, it can't say yes, because it's dumb. It has a 1 intelligence? So does that indicate that there's a threshold to intelligence for creatures that you can or cannot manipulate, as long as it's not you to lift or, push or something? But then, hey, it's magic. Who has to explain whatever, right? I do not have the consent of the governed squirrel folk. No, Simba's. In this, it's a fighter, a rogue, and a sorcerer. Can you telekinetically throw the squirrel at an enemy? Well, see, now there's another similar spell called Catapult. I think that was the name of it, Catapult. Hi, Shlomo. By the way, Shlomo, I meant to say hi last night. I don't know if I did, but it was good to see you again. Yeah, but I mean, you might be able to toss a squirrel 30 feet into the face of an enemy. Well, yeah, and that's something else, Marlboro Man. You can move an object or a creature with your mind. Can I hold on to that creature if I want to spend several rounds grading down my die? And if that's the case, Marlboro Man, can I hold a sword 30 feet away and go like this to people. I'm a fighter. I should be able to use swords, even if it's 30 feet away. But can I hold a tiny object and go, ah? You could pick it up and throw it. You could do it the old-fashioned way. That, of course, you don't need the squirrel's consent to throw it. Maybe a forest gnome or a furbolg can convince the squirrel. That's true, Shadow. But again, these are things to talk about with your DM. Does it complicate things? I don't know if it's overly complicated. It is something to track, like a wizard spell book, maybe like a battle master die. Is it stepping on the feet of paladins and battle masters? I think there's some riding coattails. Does this feel like a fighter? You know, this is what I'm asking myself. Does this feel like a fighter? No. It feels like a paladin. Maybe. Paladins and fighters, I mean, they're in many ways the same. But, you know, it's a different fighter. Yeah. So, yeah, hey, we added our archetype talents in here. We discussed what is in the Cyanite. I would ask you all, I mean, play around with this document. You know, run some simulations with damage, or, you know, have fun with it. The big catch-all to this, because the presumption is our DM gave us consent to make a character using this, and that our character is going to take part in the world and the story in which it's run. I mean, honestly, like any other game, though, to highlight what we're doing here. This psionic character would be maybe more of a spotlight character, more of an influencer in the world, more of a unique person. Maybe because the relic we guard has given us our psionic powers, or has done other things. And because we're making a character in the context of the world, it's fine. Because the world will adjust to us in our presence. Just like what we were talking about before. You can have the half devil, half angel. I can jump a number of feet equal to 2 times my dexterity plus my strength scores doubled. And all of this, and then you balance it out by giving yourself a -2 intelligence. If everyone at the table's having fun and the world already knows that you exist and is like, yeah, I'm just going to shoot you out of the sky because you jump around like a rabbit all the time, then, you know, and you're half rabbit also, I guess, then the world accounts for it. Your tabletop adventure accounts for it. I don't think that in some kind of as best of a vacuum that we can get, without me designing a special spreadsheet, which I probably should for exercises like this. But I don't see anything here that is very broken. I don't see any red flags. There are a couple cautionary things about, well, this could slow down the pace of the game, could create more incidents of people being dishonest, but this is all circumstantial to the table, not necessarily a huge defunct part of the class or the subclass. Well, yeah, and that would be something else too, Marlboro Man. If there's a log that counts as large size, and I can push the log, can I ram that log into a creature for damage? Now we can, we have another thing to consider too. Before we put in our standard array of 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 8, we did roll to get 3 feats. And maybe one or more of the feats would be good for our character to have. So let's check them out here. Psionic talent feature or wild talent feature. You have refined psionic control over your body's functions. You gain the following benefits: increased strength or dex by or con by 1, If your psionic talent die is available, you can take an action to channel your psionic power to nourish yourself for the next 24, as if you consume sufficient food and water for it. You know what? As we have a hermit, metabolic control may very well be a feat that we take. When you take this action, your psionic talent die decreases. If your psionic talent die is available, you can meditate for 1 minute, at the end of which you gain the benefits of finishing a short rest. And your psionic talent die decreases by 1 die size. You can't meditate this way again until you finish a long rest. So we get a once per long rest, kind of a catnap similar spell. I think that he would have metabolic control, given his lifestyle. Are we a telekinetic? You learn to move things with your mind. You gain the following benefits. Increase intelligence, wisdom, or charisma by 1. You learn the Mage Hand cantrip. You can cast it without verbal or somatic components, and you can make the Spectral Hand invisible. If you already know this spell, its range increases by 30 feet when you cast it. Its spellcasting ability is the ability increased by the feat. And as a bonus action, you can try to telekinetically shove one creature you can see within 30 feet of you. When you do so, roll your psionic talent die, and the target must succeed on a strength saving throw, or be moved toward you or away from you a number of feet equal to 5 times the number you rolled. A creature can willingly fail this save. And hello, welcome back, Takushi. You know, he has some latent things being a Psi warrior, but I don't know if if he necessarily uses this a lot. Is there anything in his personality that might indicate as such? Often get lost in my own thoughts, becoming oblivious to my surroundings. I feel tremendous empathy for all who suffer. Meddling in the affairs of others only causes trouble. Nothing is more important than the other members of my hermitage. I let my need to win arguments overshadow. And maybe because of that, he doesn't want to manipulate. I don't know if he'd take this as a feat. Well, yeah, so on a D12, if we get the maximum, then that would end up being a 60-foot push. Now, this does say shove, but it does not say that it has to be horizontal. That would indicate, again, if we're trying to break this, this could indicate that as a telekinetic, we can launch a dude 60 feet in the air. And this is a saving throw. The basic notion of willingness does not come into play. And this is a bonus action as well. Yeah, toward or away. So you could bonus action draw in and fighter dice him up, or you could dice him up and then launch him in the air and have him take fall damage. Well, that depends, Darkwolf. If shove is defined in the player's handbook as such, then yes. Because then the definition rides on the word. So this is shoving as an attack action. You can make a special melee attack. And the melee attack is to knock it prone or push it away from you. And it would only be 5 feet. So I think it's a presumption of lateral movement and only 5 feet, but this is also a melee version of it as well, instead of a telekinesis, which presumably might be able to launch someone up. And so you asked a very good question, Dark Wolf, and in this case, I am sounding like a munchkin. And remember, the munchkin fallacy, everyone, goes, I can because the rules don't say that I can't. If we're looking at this content, we want to stress test it. Can I use my action to attack with extra attack? Well, at this point, we're making 4. We're making 4 attacks. We can have a damage rider of our die on there, and then bonus action to telekinetically shove and possibly launch in the air. And certainly over cliffs and off bridges and other things like that, too. Yeah, so this would be a special... This would be like possibly a special shove. Philly, as a fighter, and as a level 20 fighter, you get 3 extra attacks when you extra attack. So you get your attack, and then you get your 3 extras. Yeah, telekinesis isn't specifying a direction, simply a maximum capacity for the distance you can affect, and then the area that you can push. You get your initial attack, and then you get your 3 extra attacks. So that's 4. Well, possibly not, but the range is also something to think about, Dark Wolf. You know, if you bash someone, you might be able to bash someone up. Now, it doesn't mean that they're going to fall prone. I may be hem-hawing, and I'm not trying to sound like a that guy, even though, in this case, we have to put on our that guy thinking caps. Now, are we telepathic? Increase int wizard chaw. You can speak telepathically to any creature you can see within 30 feet of you. Your telepathic utterances are in a language you know, and the creature understands you only if it knows that language. Your communication doesn't give the creature the ability to respond to you telepathically, so this telepathy cannot get consent from the squirrel that you want to force launch into the face of your enemy. If your psionic talent die is available, you can cast the Detect Thoughts spell, requiring no components. When you start casting this spell, your psionic talent die decreases by 1 die size. Your spellcasting ability for the spell is the ability increased by this feat. I don't know. We have a Hermit. I don't think he's necessarily super telepathic. So maybe we'll issue that one. Tower of Iron Will. Your mind's defenses are formidable. After you or another creature you can see within 30 feet of you fails a saving throw, you can use your reaction to roll your psionic talent die and add the number rolled to the saving throw, potentially causing it to succeed. I could make an argument that he might take Tower of Iron Will because he doesn't like to see people suffer. We do know medicine, right? We're a hermit. We have studied this in herbology and other things. He might take Tower of Iron Will to assist in that regard. Well, and that's the thing, Zareki. We're not talking about a physical push. We're talking about I'm using my brain to magically, not magically, but magically, be able to launch someone 60 feet in a direction. And so I get the, well, shoving, you push someone. Well, that's because we have arms in physics. we have muscles and bones in physics. So yeah, let's replace one of these with Tower of Iron Will. And then lastly, we have Wild Talent. You awaken to your psionic potential, which enhances your mind or body. Increase one ability score of your choice by 1. You also harbor a wellspring of psionic power within yourself, an energy that ebbs and flows as you channel it in various ways. This power is represented by your psionic talent die, the starting size of which is 6. You can use your psionic talent die in the following ways. So this is Wild Talent that doesn't have a prerequisite. So this means you can take a Battle Master fighter and give your Battle Master fighter Wild Talent, who will then get Psi Boosted Ability and Psi Guided Strike and all the conditions of the changing die size and the replenishment. Then, after that, you can tack on these feats, which would require Psionic Talent or Wild Talent to open up. So, any class could potentially have these Psionic, gingerbreading to them. When you make an ability check with the ability increased by this feat, you can roll your Psionic Talent die and add the number rolled to the check. You can choose to do so before or after rolling the d20. But before you know whether the check succeeded or failed. And once on each of your turns, when you hit with an attack roll that uses the ability increased by this feat, you can roll your Psionic Talent die after you make the damage roll and then replace one of the damage dice with the number rolled on the Psionic Talent die. Now, so we can also tack this on to make an even more psionic character, because none of these repeat. This repeats because this is the mechanic that's woven through all 3 of the subclasses, but this would give us more to our character. But I'm not seeing this character use Wild Talent to augment what he already has. Batman, the Grey Jedi. Takushi, I have seen a picture of Batman dual-wielding lightsabers while on the back of a megalodon fighting it. And y'all haven't lived life until you've seen a piece of art like that. So this is going to leave us open for one more other feat that's going to replace an ASI. And by the way, we get to choose Strength, Dex, or Wiz for where we want this to be. Strength, Dex, or Con. I'm kind of getting the idea that he's very hale, very hardy. Let's drop that in Con for right now. And then we're going to get one more. We're going to go to Chapter 6, Character Customization. Remember, not all DMs may allow feats. It's not a requirement. And then what would be something that would be to this character's maybe personality or... Keen Mind can work. Not only would we would get a beneficial score bump if we're living out in the wild, knowing our direction, knowing sunrise and sunset, and then especially if we record knowledge, or if we want to replay something that we've had the rare encounter with someone else in our mind, Keen Mind could be a good one for this character as well. We get lost in our thoughts. We're thinking about things. Being a healer may not be bad either. Being a heavy armor master would be interesting too. We would just be shielding ourselves with our psionic power and the heavy armor. Durable, perhaps? Yeah, durable might not be a bad one. Just give him a whole lot of, the ability to to repair. And durable, now durable is a good one. For many people, maybe you don't think about taking that, though remember the context of the campaign that you're going to be playing in. If you are going to have a more deadly in more encounters, more deadly things, then that might be a good feat for you to take. And if not durable, then tough. Yeah, I'm kind of liking Keen Mind. Observant may not be bad, but I don't think he's really used to watching people's mouths. The passive perception and investigation aren't necessarily bad. So maybe, I don't know, it's because of that he's lost in his mind. I could see Observant possibly. I would say that due to his background, Keen Mind is the 51 to 49. You say to a background module. So Takushi, what are you referencing in that regard? Sniper Scooby, when should I tune in to play your character? This character I don't intend to play, as this is a workshop, and we're simply talking through character creation, specifically about the Unearthed Arcana, Psionics Revisited classes. Though we do have a Tuesday roleplay game that's been ongoing with members of the community here for coming on 2 years, and an ongoing story, and it's a way for me to practice what I preach. If I'm here running workshops and I say that I've done this for a long time, when I'm actually, in the field as a dungeon master, do I stand up to the things that I talk about when I'm in the workshop? So Tuesdays is roleplay, or our roleplay days. Wednesdays through Saturdays are the workshop days. I am digging Keen Mind for who he is, and we're going to increase intelligence by 2. Now that we have that... Yeah, and thank you for asking, Scooby. Now we're going to take the standard array 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 8. And now, after all of this, we know our character. We can imagine how he makes decisions. We thought about his lifestyle, the things that he likes and doesn't like. Now we're going to worry about numbers. Intelligence is important to a psionic character. Does that mean we have to max it out? Not necessarily. And I do want to remind you that as a fighter, we end up getting a couple extra ASIs, ability score improvements. So there's the standard, 4, 8, 12, 16, 16, 19. We get a bonus at 6th level and 14th level. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3 of them are taken by feats, so we're going to get to put 6 extra points into our spread. Yeah, maybe not an ultimately not a wise character. We have training and insight in medicine, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with... Let's say we wanted to make wisdom a dump stat. It doesn't mean that we still haven't picked up healing skills. It just means that we don't have a broad application. We can't, understand squirrel body language, but we can, fix a broken arm. We can read people's thoughts, or not like in that way, but we can get a feeling for them. We have empathy, but, that doesn't mean that we know exactly, we don't have the best sight or vision. We haven't practiced that because we've put something elsewhere. Strength or dex is important for a fighter. We could go with either. Well, we get 6 ASIs, but 3 of them are taken by feats. So we're going to have 6 points. Or wait, did I not... 4, 6, 8, 12, 14, 6... Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So if we just say 4, 6, and 8 are consumed by feats, 12, 14, 16, 19. So yeah, we will have 8 points. Sorry about that. I missed... Whatever. It's 4:15 a.m. I'm I'm not braining. This person will have a brain. I think we have a very intelligent person. All right, go be a sleepy woo. Thanks for hanging out with us, Dark Wolf. I think Constitution, yeah. I think he's going to be very hardy. So, I don't know, what if we do this? 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 8. Yeah, well, it happens. What about this for his stats? And what we'll do is we'll bump his charisma up from his racial modifier, intelligence from feat and racial. Oh, that should be a 16. And constitution from the feat. And now we drop in our 8 points. I think we can make him even tougher. So if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Charisma is important for Tiefling if he wants to use Darkness or Hellish Rebuke. That's true. So if we put 2 in the Constitution, you know, maybe he does have a baseline of charisma, and when he's intense, he can get super intense. So we put in, I don't know, let's put another 2 points here. That gives us 4 points, and we can bump that up. We can bump that up into... Maybe we could put all 4 into strength and have it be a 19 if we wished. Nothing wrong with that. The beauty about 5th edition is that we don't get into the points where, oh, you don't have a 34 strength. Are you even playing this game at level 25? The difference between this is only 1, and it's a 5% difference. And we're going to have other things that we can do, especially with our intelligence. So I think this is an absolutely fine stat distribution. And if you wanted to change something up, then I don't know. You could say, well, you know, because we're kind of forcing taking the psychic feat or the psionic feats first. Maybe he would have taken Heavy Armor Master, and he would have gotten a bump in strength and bring him up to 20 instead of Tower of Iron Will. I could absolutely see that being the case. And so you'd swap out the ability to help others because, you know what, maybe you say, well, he doesn't meddle with other people, which could include saving other people too. And so instead of Tower of Iron Will, you want to swap it out for Heavy Armor Expertise. Give him Heavy Armor Expertise and bump that strength up to a 20. Absolutely. I still think that this person would be fine. Wouldn't be a conflict of, you know, who he is or what he does. But playing it where it lies, this is what we have. That is a 4 strength, 1 dex, 3 con, 3 int, -1 wisdom, and 2 charisma. This is going to have a saving throw 10 for 1, 1, 1, 1, 9. 3s down the line, with the exception of religion, which is 9. 5 insight, 5 medicine, and I'm going to copy paste the -1 into the others. And then charisma is 2, 2, 2, and 2, with the exception of intimidation. When we get fierce, there's an 8. Our passive perception is a 9, as that's 10 plus, or in this case minus, our wisdom modifier. Armor class, I don't know. We're a level 20th character. What would your DM allow you to have? You know, similar to weapons. Well, if we're attacking with a strength weapon or a dex weapon, we can calculate that. At least the attack, right? +10 or +7, respectively. But I don't know what you'd have at this level. So we're just kind of floating that along. Cantrips, Infernal Legacy gives us Thaumaturgy. We have no spell slots. If we want to have our spell be our psi power, then we can put down intelligence. So that would be plus 9, and then to save would be a 17 because you add 8 to that. Over here, if you want to manage things like sorcerer points, key points, and whatever, that's why I like this. That's why I like this sheet. In here, we can put our side-eye, and this is a D12, or however you want to indicate it. Bardic inspiration, other things can go here. Ammo, arrows, or something, right? So we no longer have a set of stats. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry. Initiative is a dex check. And hit points. Ooh, shame on me. We get 10 at level 1. You get your maximum hit die and hit points at level 1. Then for our remaining 19 of our 20 levels, we get half plus 1 of our hit die, which is going to be 6, unless your DM says otherwise and you work it out. And then for all 20 of our levels, we get bonus hit points equal to our Constitution modifier. So this is going to give us 60 bonus hit points. Not too shabby. So that's 174, 184 hit points with presumably a really tanky AC and the psionic ability to minimize damage coming in, which is also why the armor would be a good replacement feat if we weren't kind of forcing a look at the psionic feats, because he would want to reduce the damage. He wants to reduce that impact. But yeah, he's earned himself a name, everyone. You know, nothing presumably here, but we have a character. We understand his decision-making, his history. He has a place in the world. He's a cool dude who's probably 500 years old because of this weird relic. Hey, DMP. We just finished making a Psi Knight Tiefling to test out the new Unearthed Arcana. Oh, geez, now that's a story, Zareki. I have a slight sideline question, asks Phoenix. If intelligence is natural IQ and wisdom is book learning, how does one handle... it's the other way around. Intelligence is reflected more as book learning. Wisdom is more your common sense or just the feelings that your body tells you. Intelligence will tell you exactly how hot something is. Wisdom will tell you that's hot, don't go next to it. Intelligence can have you identify a species among several. Wisdom would be, you know, like through survival would be like, yeah, that'll, you know, that's a skunk. It'll squirt you with smell bad juice. And so, but still, even flopping that, how does someone have high intelligence but lack of common sense? Maybe they grew up in a sheltered way. They were given books to read, but they haven't lived life. They haven't had their feelings trounced upon. They haven't had to challenge themselves in a moral way because they've read books otherwise. You can learn math and you could be absolutely astute in mathematics, and you could have no idea how to interact with human beings because you've interacted with books. You might have read about it, but what do? Which story that you read do you call upon? Because you don't have a natural inclination. You can't feel out the conversation. So you say, oh, so if I'm interacting with a merchant, this might be a story. Maybe I'll be more like a character from wherever. You know, or the natural awareness one has. If you're used to reading books in front of you, maybe you tune out people. And so your perception is lower. You narrow your sight. And so your vision is lower. Things along those lines. I hope that makes sense, Phoenix. And some of them do have bleed over. I mean, there are instances where I'm sure a nature check or a survival check would pretty much yield the same result. a lot of the skills do have crossover, bleed over between them, depending on the circumstances. And the beauty in 5th edition also is, I posted something in, I think it was in memes, if not it was in other art, where it's a circumstance of an intelligence-based deception check. And you might say, but deception is under charisma. You must always roll charisma for deception. Not in that circumstance. That I think that was definitely an intelligence-based deception check. And there's a lot of other circumstances where you can swap out the primary ability score that's fueling the skill. Yeah, he's not the most social. He might be polite. He may know not to burp, fart, and cuss in front of certain people. But he's not a debutante at the ball. All right. Let's wrap things up for the workshop for tonight. Hey, and I'm glad it does, Philly. I really do hope that these workshops are inspirational and do encourage people to want to go out and play and test it for themselves. Oh, of course, yeah. Yeah.